скажу. Добре? Якщо вам зараз треба знати, ну то я можу попробувати.
Ні, не потрібно.
Зараз треба знати?
Не зараз, не потрібно, не хвилюйтеся.
Окей.
Отже, отці, вітаю вас сьогодні ввечері. Ми вже є в живому ефірі. Постараємося сьогодні також щось цікавого порозмовляти, погомоніти. Ну і, звичайно, проговорити трошечки про те, що наближається піст. Почнемо нашу зустріч якраз з молитви. Отче Володимире, я весь час щось там починаю. Почни ти сьогодні, добре?
Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Богородице Діво, радуйся. Обрадована Марія, Господь з тобою. Благословенна ти між жінами, і благословен плід утроби твоєї. Бо ти породила Спаса Христа і Збавителя душам нашим. Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Во ім'я Отця і Сина і Святого Духа, амінь. Слава Ісусу Христу!
Слава навіки!
Слава навіки! Цікавий початок. Молитва до Богородиці. Перший раз таке в житті чув, але то непогано.
Отак, я молився до Богородиці. Я не знаю, чому так.
Це дуже файно. Хай Богородиця нас благословляє.
То треба
надіємося на неї.
До Святого Духа. Ой, то правда.
Нічого, на кінець тоді можете до Святого Духа.
Добре. Отже, як завжди, просимо тих, хто дивляться разом з нами, тут є, присутні через інтернет, просимо дати знати, якою мовою ви бажаєте, щоб ми розмовляли. Those who are watching with us, please type in either through Facebook or YouTube which language you would like us to use to be able to convey the message clearly in the language of your preference or choice. Отже, отці, сьогоднішня зустріч наша є якраз перед м'ясопусною неділею. Правда ж? Значить, цю неділю буде м'ясопусна неділя. Ну і, звичайно, в суботу будемо служити поминальну чи батьківську суботу, Memorial Saturday. This Saturday is the first one that we do all the way till Lent. Sorry, till Pascha, actually, till the Lazarus Saturday. In our parish here in Ottawa, when I came here, on Lazarus Saturday, we have a last panacheda. But on Lazarus Saturday, we have last panacheda, but for everybody who passed away from this parish. So we have like a whole stack of memorial books, and we commemorate everybody. So it takes, panacheda itself is not that long, but because there's about 120 books, so you read them for half an hour, 40 minutes, the books long. But it's a wonderful tradition, and this is the first. This is actually would be the second Lent that we have this social gathering restrictions, right? It started on March 15th in Ontario, and it's almost today is March 4th, so we're 11 days to celebrate this sad first anniversary of us getting to quarantine, And it was interesting how different it is, the attitude of people now, now that we know a little bit about the COVID, a little bit more about COVID, there's not that much panic as it was. Remember the first couple of weeks of COVID-19, it was something awful and terrible.
Yeah.
And my wife works in intensive care unit at the hospital, and for first 2 months of that quarantine, she would come home and she would take she would change in the garage, and then before she comes home, and she would sleep separately in the basement, and it was just, it was fearful, right? I mean, it was really, because
scary stuff.
Tough, yeah. So now we're as we approach the first anniversary of that quarantine, there is lots to interesting then to reflect upon what had happened there. the worst part about the last year's quarantine is that, of course, for Pascha last year, we had what? We had maximum 5 people allowed to be in the church. Could you imagine for Pascha
yes.
celebration? So only 5 people allowed to be in the church. I'm not quite sure if Montreal had a little bit more permission. But in Ottawa, that's what we had, and it was very difficult. It's feast of feast, and you celebrate, and we had even all night service, and we had. I asked Subdeacon Brian Butcher to sing with me, from Ukrainian Catholic Church, and he and Brother Yuri Derkach sang, and all of this was wonderful and beautiful.
Indeed.
But it's just the people were missing, and that celebratory spirit was also missing as well. So I'm hoping that this year would be a little bit different, probably would involve lots of logistics to organize things around there because doctors or those statisticians promising that the third wave of COVID-19 is going to come late March, early April. So, but але все в Божих руках, but everything is God's.
Так, yeah.
So whatever God sends us is for it's good for our salvation. Let's put it this way.
Yes.
It's good for our salvation. Okay. However, the COVID-19 had opened new opportunities, right? Something we talked before, we wanted to do it, never had enough time. So it's you plan different things, and one of my parish members, Brother Oleg Bilkin, always say, if you wanted to make God laugh, share with him your plans, so
Yes.
so we made God laugh, by sharing our plans last year, so and what happened was COVID-19. We started having those online presentations, lectures, prayers. So we moved and adapted to new realities, and I'm hoping that and some of those things that we've done, actually became for the benefit of our parish, for our parishes, because we're able to reach out to some people who are in senior residences, so those people who are at different homes and locked in their houses. So thank God for that as well.
Yes.
Watch.
By the way, I just checked this out while you were talking, and my last class will be April 30th.
Oh, wow. Well, end of semester, of course. Yes.
Yes.
End of semester. So excellent. Well, just before Pascha.
Yes. Just before Pascha. That's right.
Holy Friday.
Holy Friday. Yes.
So again, this year our Pascha is much later, right?
Yes, it is.
Our Pascha is
5 weeks.
Is it 5 or 4 weeks? Well, regardless of that, it's a large chunk of time that is different, right? And I'm not quite sure how. I'm hoping actually that we will be able to. We'll be able to celebrate a little bit better with this year in our houses. So let's see. What would you add to this, from your perspective of this approaching anniversary of the COVID-19?
I think we are waiting for the vaccine. That is the first step. As soon as we receive that vaccine, probably we'll chance to reduce that situation level of
anxiety
and so on, and we will back to normal life. And I
have already gotten the vaccine.
Oh, by the way, yes.
Except I have to get the second shot sometimes towards the end of May.
Someone asked,
but I've had the first one.
And how are you feeling?
No problem. Everything is good. I don't feel any nanobots in me or anything like that.
Nobody control you. Nobody tell do this.
Nobody. Yeah, I haven't been hearing any voices telling me to do this or that or the other. No.
Okay.
Mhm.
And there's not even there's no sign where it even went in.
Oh, wow. So, but it was your first vaccine, right?
My first one, yeah. But I've been taking the flu shots for over a decade. I've been taking for a long time the flu shots, and when the H1N1 was coming, I took that one too.
I never, in my life, since I came to Canada, I never took any shots, flu shots, never. Maybe this time, next year, hopefully, I will take it, because before I never thought that I should take it. Maybe that's why, uh, thank God, it was very mild, in my situation that COVID was, when I got this, was very mild, but maybe if I was take that shot, flu shot, probably maybe will not get it.
Well,
But
ever since I've been taking flu shots, I've never had a flu. Before that, every winter I'd be down, and then
Mhm.
once I started taking them, no more flus at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my wife took both shots, actually. She had a first vaccine and the second one. So after the first
Frontline
one,
worker. That's
so
why.
how does she feel? How does she feel?
after the first one, she didn't feel anything, but after the second one, she was very. She felt really awful for a day and a half or 2 days almost. She was out of had to lay down, and she's so that was her experience. Doesn't mean that
Was that the Pfizer?
whatever take
The
gives.
Pfizer vaccine? You don't know.
Yeah, no, whatever. I don't know. Like I don't want to speculate.
Mine was the Pfizer.
Okay. Так явно. Anyways, we kind of
Father
started.
Taras, you've taken it?
Jenny, казала мені, що because I'm 60, десь так до червня I will get it.
Aha.
Але знаєте що? I think, it's like отець Volodymyr said, and отець Igor from Ottawa, this has been extremely a big challenge. I will take it because I do believe that it can't hurt, it can help. But I think as priests, як священники, ми всі, знаєте, мали такі ситуації, що люди дуже перешкоджувались. They were getting very anxious, and
That's right.
sentiments and the feelings were very high, and чого ви так робите, чому ви не так робите, and
Well,
sometimes we have to try to, as clergy also, trust in God more at certain times like this to encourage our faithful to understand.
Well, that's the very reason
I
I took the shot, is because I thought I have to be a good example for the people, because people are worried, should I take it, should I not? I am convinced from what I've read and heard that it's a good thing to do, so I took it.
І знаєте, що також we have to I had a good talk with Vladika Mitropolit this last Monday, and we have to start to look after ourselves also. Бо як ми не будемо себе доглядати, if we're dead and gone, it doesn't make a difference, громади, they'll cry for a while and can keep on going.
That's the second reason I took it, is to look out for myself.
Yeah. The other thing is, знаєте, you can't believe everything on the internet that you read. Але знаєте, бабі сказала, квашена капуста більше їсти, чесник більше їсти, знаєте, the natural foods, the stuff that, that our grandparents and great-grandparents grew up with, бігме, here's an old Bukovinska slova, бігме. The eating properly, your diet gives you your immune system in your body strength to cope with different situations that we are always put up with, or facing. So I think that, like Taki Vikash, doctor, we have to be an example for our parishioners, for our faithful. We should also teach our faithful that, some of Baba's and Prababa's medicines were also very beneficial. Ні голові, що там люди думають, що я кажу, but що правда не гріх.
Well, I also eat garlic every day, and I take vitamin D and zinc,
Vitamin
which
D
are
is very
supposed
good.
to be good for the immune system.
Yes.
I try to make sure that I get lots of rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All of those recommendations are good.
And I try to
And,
laugh a lot too. And laughing is also good for the immune system.
of course, positive emotions, you know. So it's how would you say it? It's to have a positive attitude is to win half of the battle against the disease.
Indeed, that's the thing.
Okay. So let's see. What I'm just wanted to talk to our listeners and ask what are the topic that interests them. Please let us know. But at this point of time, I just wanted to kind of.
Oh,
Father
That's-
Victor also got his Pfizer vaccination.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Oh, congratulations.
Excellent. Good. Well, Father
Він
Victor
трохи
is just
старший.
about the same age as I am. We went to school together. I think he's just a wee bit older than me.
От,
About
I
3
am
months.
74 already.
Бачу,
Excellent.
Володимир, треба тримати язик за зубами, бо вони трохи старші від нас.
Так.
Треба їх шанувати.
Ну, я поки що, як отець сказав раз, я сальце, масельце, чесничок, розумієте, це є наша традиційна вакцина, ну і це розумієте, допомагає так само. Сальце і масельце. Чули таке?
So, anyways, going back to to our topic for today, I wanted to chat about the Great Lent and our Sundays of preparation. You know, let's see, let's see. As you know, it's kind of going that we start with Zacchaeus Sunday, right? You know, with Zacchaeus Sunday, we talk about how it's not Smarania, but there's a there's how there is a desire to approach to God, right? The Father Schmaman wrote that Zacchaeus Sunday talks about desire to see God, you know, and to meet God, you know. And on Sunday after that, when Publican Pharisee talks about smerenia, right? Talks about humility, right? You know how one again, you know, it's the same. Maybe it is the same publican that they're talking about, but talks about humility. You know how in that how humility opens the true door to repentance. Okay, so that's my reading of Father Schmemann. You know, by the way, he has a really beautiful book called Veliki Peace, and I even have the text of that book translated into Ukrainian if anybody wants to get it. Anyways, but the next Sunday, of course, the Sunday we just celebrated last Sunday was the Sunday of prodigal son, right? And Father Schmemann calls this as return to the father's home, you know. So, and he interestingly puts it in crafts it in the words that, you know, we who are preparing for the Lent, you know, always have to remember that it's an opportunity for us to change our life, because we live in foreign land. We don't live land in closeness to God, but we live in foreign land filled with sin and lots of things that to take us away from God. You know, so that's basically the essence of that Sunday. Yeah. So now. This kind of approaching week is the week of the Sunday of Meat Fair Sunday. So it's the last day that we eat meat, and it's also a last day that we have we start truly preparing, not only by passages, but physically preparing for the approaching Lent. І дуже цікавим and a very interesting part of that preparation on Sunday is, of course, the prayers for the dead on Saturday, because it's the first memorial Saturday before the Lent. Anyways, and the Sunday after that is a Cheese Fair Sunday and Sunday of Forgiveness. I just wanted to ask you about this again, like to repeat that message that you have spoke about 3 weeks ago about about abstinence from meat. Why do we need abstinence from meat? We get lots of those questions like, why do we need abstinence from meat? Why
Because
we need abstinence?
if really meat is a sin, abstinence, if why food, kind of the reason, what's the wrong with the food that we have to be during the land, we have to be abstain. So why people has to be abstain and how from the meat?
Oh,
Are you answering it, or are you asking the question again?
Yeah,
I'm asking the question.
The question, what the father asked Ihor, I just added, to this.
Well, the thing is that in paradise, there was no eating of meat. There was the eating of just vegetables and fruits and so on, and yet we know that the sin came in not by eating meat; it came in by eating fruit from the forbidden tree. So, what we want to do in Lent is we want to get back to paradise and eat the right things, and at the same time, we don't eat meat because of the fact that meat also involves the taking of life. And in paradise, animals and humans lived together in perfect harmony. And when paradise returns, when the kingdom has come, again, there will be no taking of life. There will be no eating of meat. So during Lent, we try to restore our life in paradise and to look forward to the paradise that is to come. Not that it's a sin to eat meat, but still it does involve the taking of life, of sentient life. That's the way I understand it. Perhaps one of the other fathers has another understanding of it.
And then, of course, that Sunday after, we don't eat, we stop eating, according to the Orthodox, at least, prescription to that, is that we stop eating the cheese and eggs, and truly Lent starts with fruits and vegetables,
But interesting things, like, when the Lent is over, so what we bring to the church meat. We bring, ham, kielbasa, and we bless them.
Well, actually,
yes,
in some interesting Orthodox parish.
But very, very good point, Father Ihor said, because we not eat because we take a life. It's not allowed to kill because, we kill the animals. It's a blood, it's a life. Ми забираємо життя. Так? And in paradise was not, people, not using the meat. By the way, like, the pork, it's regarded as an unclean animal.
In Judaic tradition, yes.
Judaic and Muslim tradition.
Yes, yeah.
Why is it unclean?
Well, there is actually a hygienic reason. Apparently, pork was very susceptible to getting parasites. So it may be that somebody had an insight that was not terribly good to eat, and so therefore it was forbidden to eat.
And the unclean animals being thrown over the cliff. That's what one of the profs also said for us. So the unclean animals.
Yes, the other thing is that, yes, when the man who was demon possessed, when Jesus was about to heal him, the demons begged to be allowed to go into the herd of pigs that the people were keeping, and when Jesus said go, they went into those pigs, and the pigs all jumped off the cliff and were drowned.
Yes,
drowned.
That's why.
So that is almost a note of chastisement against the people. Why were they keeping a herd of pigs? It's not clean to eat that.
yeah, that's why the Jesus can underline that the pig is not clean. Even why he allowed the demon goes to the, in the pig, like it's like, the some in and other animals, but particular in the pig, because according to the Jewish tradition, like, and so on, the pig was not, in the Old Testament, the pig is not clean animal. So
Well, the pigs were the closest thing for the demons to want to go into, but the fact that that is what happened, that's what the Bible says. So it does seem to be a note of discouragement against the eating of pigs.
Знаєте, що очі доктори також, there was, when we were growing up, one of the older priests, that's Чурак, in blessed memory, ви його пам'ятаєте?
Yes, yeah, I do.
He was a very knowledgeable man, a very humble man також, знаєте, як він з нами говорив, especially with the youth. Well, I mean the youth, we were like 18, 19, 20 years old when we knew him. I considered ourselves the youth at that time. But when he had a chance and opportunity to talk with us, а знаєте, це на фермі. На фермах, що якраз їй казали, що не може їсти м'ясо, не може їсти це, не може їсти це. And we're going, well, то чекай, we have to clean barns, we have to feed the animals, we have, hay and everything else to make sure that it's all making, sichka is made. I mean, there's physical labor that we were going through, and we're saying, очі, like, Mama каже нам, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, під час Великого посту, we're going to try to abstain. But I mean, the rest of the time, навіть бабуся and прабабуся said, well, слухай, сенку, то треба, їсти добре, що фізично триматись. You have to eat properly so that you could, maintain your work schedule outdoors with the animals. And отець Микола said, he says, well, та знаєш, що маленька машина не треба так багато бензину лляти, але велика машина треба трохи давати. So he understood that because the body required, to be fed properly still to maintain the 40 plus 7 days without getting physically sick, to make it through to Lent or to make it through to Pascha, you still had to feed yourself properly. But you could, at the same time, what we all know, we could abstain, we could deprive ourselves so that we knew through prayer that we could make it through to the next day or whatever else, to keep our bodies going and to keep our minds going and to keep our souls going, that we would make it through the 40 plus 7 days to Pascha. And then what Volodymyr was saying, to break the fast. That's when we would break, like breakfast in the morning, you break the fast for the evening. You break the fast where you have the kubasa, you have the shenka, you have the ser, you have the, chrin z burakami, everything. The koshik, the Velikoodny koshik was very important. It was more than just a simple, symbolic act of going, to the church and getting things blessed and going home and the celebrations are on. There was still that preparation spiritually and mentally for the holy day.
Well, the very good point, Father Ihor from Montreal, you mentioned the first. Okay, let's go. First reason why, that we restore, in the paradise, the abstaining. Like I said, do eat this, but for this fruit, don't touch it. So at that time, fast, abstain. So the people break that law. So we know the result. That's it. The second thing, to me, why there is a, the meat, particularly not in the meat because life, take a life, okay. So it was not before, and the third reason that physically abstaining for the food, the shift goes to the spiritual kind of focus, during the Lent. So not so much we focus on the food that we eat and so on, but I have to focus on the spiritual things like, abstaining, fasting, prayers, and so on. So that's the focus is during the Lent, under наша душа, духовний стан, розумієте, а не стан нашого тіла і так далі. Of course, there is a reasons that, because each one is individual, is different, because some people can, fast, some people eat, some people are sick, they have the medication, they have to this. But quite interesting things just came to my mind. Кого приносили в жертву? Ізраїльтяни, кого приносили в жертву? Свиню чи вівцю? Барана. Барана чи свиню приносили в жертву? Як преобраз жертви Христа. Кого приносили в жертву? Свиню чи барана, чи вівцю?
It would have been a sin to bring a pig because pigs were unclean, so they would never have offered a pig. No.
Та чому ми благословляємо свиню, м'ясо свиняче, приносимо до церкви чи кубасу, і ми освячуємо, не робимо ту кубасу з барана, із вівці, але свиню, яка є нечиста, яка абсолютно не відповідає тим правилам канону. Вибачте, по-українськи можете перекласти. Не відповідає тим правилам, бо свиня є нечиста, але ми на Пасху приносимо не вівцю, не барана м'ясо, але свиняче м'ясо.
I know that I know at least one priest who actually refused to bless baskets in which there was pork and ham.
Really?
But that is not the case. As of the New Testament, all of these, the kosher laws have basically, they no longer apply. The only reason we might want to abstain is not because they're forbidden to us, because everything is just like, the vision that the Apostle Paul had when all sorts of animals were shown to him, and the voice said, "Take Paul and eat," and he said, "No, I've never eaten anything unclean." And God says, what God has made clean, you can't call unclean. And he saw this 3 times. Of course, that did not really relate so much to the eating of that food, although the hint is there. The direction is given, but it was primarily because to say that God has expanded his kingdom to include non-Jews as well as Jews, as well as the chosen people. And that is why the Apostle Paul then went and started preaching to the Gentiles and brought the Gentiles into the church. And eventually the church was primarily became a Gentile church, a church of the Gentiles.
It's also interesting that, like when we read last Sunday's epistle reading, right? There's a couple of really good passages in that epistle. And one of those passages is that God made food for man, but not man for food.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strong message. So God made it for food.
This is understandable. It's understandable. But we're talking about primarily we're talking about the pig and so on. We see so many reasons that it's not allowed. It's an unclean animal and so on. So and again, so this is, yes, to me, like, it's logically, yes, the pig is unclean. So why then we abstain and so on, okay? But after that, the church bless this food, this meat, So this is
the prime reason
Victor
why.
Also wrote interesting comments here.
That.
I don't know if you fathers see that or not.
Yeah.
Says there is an interesting article published in Medical Journal, the Medical Journal of Clinical Medicine, entitled "Why is Meat Excluded from the Christian Diet During Fasting?" So I guess
you'll have to find it and read it.
What I wanted to say is also that when we talk about this, like general talk, we are blessed in our Ottawa that we have a parish hall, so we do not allow meat to be brought to the church. We basically leave it in the hall, and then after the service, we bless it in a church.
You bless it in the hall.
Yeah. So, because what's his name? It was interesting. You mentioned about Father Churak. When I came to Ottawa, Father Churak was still here, and when I was talking to Father Churak, he was kind of like, he said to me,
Thank you.
Sorry?
Father Victor said he'll send it to us, so we thank him for that.
So he had mentioned something interesting, that became a tradition in Ottawa Parish is that, only one sacrifice, only one flesh is allowed in the church, and that is the flesh of Christ, a communion that we partake of. The rest of it cannot be brought, like the meat cannot be brought to the church, to the church. And I haven't really explored that type of argument, but it was interesting he brought it to me. And like I said, we have a church hall, as you know, and it is
But
not.
in our Trebnike, there are prayers for the blessing of meat
Yes.
products for
Але
Pascha.
воно каже кеф. Воно каже,
Yeah.
It doesn't say calf, it's just meat.
М'ясні продукти.
М'ясні продукти, meat products. It doesn't say calf.
Що заколов агнця, як Христос заколов агнця,
Yes.
агнця, каже, так далі.
Що Христос заколов, but the prayer itself for the blessing doesn't say only beef. The prayer itself is for all meat products. And it's quite common. Yes, exactly. Meat and eggs and butter, the things that we would not have been eating during Lent, because butter and eggs and milk and cheese also, if you're being very strict, as of the cheese fair Sunday, you don't eat those either.
We quite often argue about it, should we keep it or not, and my argument back is saying, well, unless you keep it, you do not know if it's good or not for you, right? So if your health allows, if your age and health allows you to do that, then it wouldn't be too bad.
I had an old parishioner, his name was Seman, and his children would call me and say, Father, talk to our father, tell him to stop fasting so strictly. He's not taking meat, he's not taking milk, he's not taking cheese, he's old. It's not good for him. So I spoke to him, and he was already in his 90s, and he says, Father, all my life I've been doing it like this. And look how old I am. I'm not going to change.
Бачите, doctor, you were correct. It says на антицю і на всі інші страви м'ясні.
That's it. Yeah, all meat products.
Sorry, a lot of unfortunately, it's just like in the New Testament. A lot of the translations into English get, sometimes misunderstood or misrepresented.
So why do we fast from meat? I found that a couple of materials on the internet that I was preparing for today. And it said that in Public Orthodoxy article, it talks about why don't we consume meat during the preparation. The true meaning of fasting in the Orthodox Church, it says, and it actually focuses and concentrates on the vesperal stichire, sung during the Vespers, and that actually provides the theology behind all of this, our fasting. So one of the points that it says that even a cursory study of this Lenten hymns of the Vespers clearly shows that fasting is primarily about renewing our relationship with God. And I always remember that slogan that says, when Владика Митрополит Володимир Сабодан said, найголовніше під час посту не їсти один одного. The most important thing in Lent is not to eat one another.
I even saw that on billboards in Ukraine.
That's right.
Just wanna finish this, with a few sentences, Okay, I want to read something. Поглянь, Господи Ісусе Христе Боже, наш на агнця цього і на всю іншу м'ясну поживу, благослови і освяти їх, як благословив і освятив ти агнця, що його тобі привів вірний Авраам. Агнця, а не свиню.
No, but it still says і інші м'ясні продукти. It's in there.
Вони добавили, але говориться в агнця, який Авраам привів агнця. Репрезентує.
Yes, it's true. But that is taken as a type. In other words, because of the fact that he brought the lamb, and we are permitted to eat the lamb, that permission is then granted to us Christians after in the New Testament. The permission is granted to eat all other meat as well. But there are even, for example, Seventh-day Adventists. They are Christians, but they very strictly observe the kosher laws as well. They do not eat meat for that very reason. And it's, by the way, it's not only meat. There's also we are not permitted to eat sea products. Fish we're permitted to eat, but we're not permitted to eat shrimp, lobsters. Those things are also forbidden.
With the backbone.
I think it's vice versa. I think it's fish that is not allowed to eat,
Yeah.
but the seafood, shrimps, and seafood products we are permitted to eat.
Well, we are, but if you are following the kosher laws,
Oh, the kosher
you're
laws,
not
yes,
permitted
yes,
to. That's
yes.
right. Those things are not permitted. We eat them because we I actually heard. It may have been Father Schmemann said that I'm not sure exactly, but he said that these things are considered to be almost vegetables because they don't have a backbone. They're not the same type of folks like we are. Kind of like the vegetables of the animal kingdom, something like that.
The vegetative type, yes. But again, I just wanted to kind of finish reading the quote. It says, even a cursory study of this Lenten hymns clearly show that fasting is primarily about renewing our relationship with God,
Yes.
neighbor, and the world more broadly. Already at the Vespers of service of Pure Monday, we are reminded that fasting involves a personal cleansing of our whole self and not simply a dietary detox. And it's like for Holy Monday, first Monday of the Lent, it says, let us fast in a way that is acceptable and pleasing to the Lord. True fasting is flight from evils, temperance of the tongue, refrain from anger, separation from lustful desires, and from lies, from falsehood, and from perjury. From the absence of all this makes our fasting true and acceptable. It's a wonderful part of the hymn that we read, right? So think about it, what we need to abstain from. Not only meat, because meat is just a physical part of it, right? And we would call it dieting, right? Then we just kind of say, oh, well, we'll give up chocolate for Lent. Instead of meat, we'll just give up chocolate for Lent.
For me, I find it very important to partake in and participate in the Chitanya Kanone. Those first set of canons, for me,
the first
set
week
the
of Lent,
entire fast. Because if you don't walk out of any one of those canons not thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going down the wrong path, I have to change. As a priest reading those motveh, those prayers, then
you're talking about the great canon of St. Andrew of Crete, right?
Yeah, great canons. Those
the great
those
canon,
are the ones,
yes.
Yeah, those are the ones that set the whole tone for fast.
Yes.
For me, as a priest. And that's why I think it's important to encourage our faithful to at least come to one of them, or if not, during these COVID times, but partake in one of them on the live stream and listen to the prayers, listen to the odes. It's humbling.
Yes.
But also when you think about especially the first couple songs of the couple of that canon, it's interesting that everything is filled with the book of Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Old Testament. Remember all those examples of the Old Testament, there were the types, they were the ones that kind of bring us closer to Christ. I just wanted to kind of quote another little part of that passage from that article, and it says, in the same way, the hymn in question isn't. For instance, fasting is connected with dynamic. The entire fasting is viewed as connection with within the dynamic of purification, following Christ's call for holiness for each and every one of us. Many fathers of the church speak of purification as necessary first step towards encountering God. So it's the physical abstinence from meat and from, if we can do it from dairy products, of animal products during Lent, is they're viewed as first step towards encountering God, because we need to tame our physical desires. Sorry, go ahead, Oche.
And there's also a third aspect to it, which is that for almsgiving, that during Lent we should particularly be attentive to the need to give to worthy causes, to poor people, and so on. That is also, by the way, I was at the Jewish General Hospital today with a neighbor of mine. I was his translator, and we went for coffee. And there at the where you pay, there was a sign saying, "Money is the root of all evil. Cleanse your souls." And there's a little bowl there for tips. So a very neat way of saying, "Give us a tip, cleanse your souls."
We should have a bowl like that at the entrance of the church.
Yes,
that would be wonderful. Very good. So again, fasting therefore needs to be accompanied with effort in purification. So again, not to just make it oversimplified, make it as a diet, but also other efforts that needed to be undertaken. So it's a very, very nice article. It's a lengthy article. I can send it to you guys, but it's a very good one. So in the same way, it says the hymn in question is in an injunction for purity. The meaning of purity, like fasting, ought not to be impoverished. Purification, especially, signifies a process towards integrity, katartios, not the etymological proximity between the two concepts. Accordingly, purification is understood as internal consistency or integrity of character, which, in face of temptation, remains totally devoted to God. Integrity of character that is totally devoted to God. And that's what we are striving towards during the Great Lent.
yes. By the way, the main reason why meat is a useful thing to eat is because it's protein, and the body does need protein.
But the
We need
protein could be,
protein.
many other things,
Yes, you can. There is also protein in fish, of course, and on. Well, of course, if you're really being very strict, you don't even eat fish. But then, of course, there is protein also in
beans.
Peas and beans and broad beans, right? This also has protein.
А це більш природні, так би сказати, натуральний протеїн, скажімо.
Yes. So protein is very important. The body needs that, and you can also nowadays you can buy capsules with protein. In the old days, you couldn't do that. Now we do have. I'm not sure where that protein comes from. I'm not sure. But
there's lots of even the vegan-based protein that is sold for bodybuilders.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Vegan-based proteins. Yeah.
So the fasting, as again, like we're referring to that material, involves a gradual transformation from brokenness to wholeness. Because we are broken, we are tempted, we are, we're in foreign country, as we were talking about this last Sunday.
That's right.
To wholeness.
The prodigal.
So the true fasting, as it means, is the means to going towards the wholeness, the fullness, restoration of ourselves. So that's kind of like a very, very nice way of putting it. What we do the fasting for, and of course we can decipher and break it down into more different steps. It also says that in the Vespers, in the Sunday of on the first Monday of the Lent, during the liturgy of pre-sanctified gifts, it says, while fasting was the body, O brothers, let us also fast in spirit. Let us loosen every connection with injustice.
With injustice, yeah.
With injustice, let us loosen every connection with injustice. Let us give bread to the hungry, just exactly what your father was saying, your fathers were saying, and introduce into our house the poor who have no roof to cover them, that we may receive from Christ our God the great mercy. Okay, so the works of benevolence, the works of
Yes.
charity,
But
that comes from the heart, needs to be emphasized during the Lent. Go ahead.
Father says,
Почему
but
ти-
so he wants to say something.
no, I'm just Христос сказав, що цей рід лікується молитвою і постом. You know, цей рід лікує, this рід, то буде
Talking about evil spirits. Evil spirits
This generation,
are defeated by prayer and fasting.
this type, yeah.
this type of цей рід лікується молитвою і постом. Цікаво, піст і молитва. So, if you're talking about the peace,
Oh, well, this is good. Okay.
does not combine with the prayer, doesn't make a sense, that peace.
But also, it's interesting because I will be talking about on St. Sophie's. I will have a short lecture on Sunday about asceticism, So it's very interesting that I was reading this materials.
About the Sadducees.
Sorry?
About the Sadducees.
No. I'll be talking about asceticism.
Oh, asceticism.
Asceticism.
Okay, good. Yes, all right.
Not Sadducees. I would. It would be really interesting to talk about Sadducees, but I didn't.
No.
I'm not prepared for this.
Asceticism is much more appropriate, definitely.
So it's interesting, that one of the professors from Kharkiv had an interesting lecture about how in the Greek, how the aspect of aspect of how do you say it, abstinence or not abstinence, asceticism, had existed in every religion, It had been a ritual, had been a part of, us sacrificing something towards something. That was considered to be asceticism. But he said that even in the ancient Greek civilization, or Greek times, there were those who were theoros, and theoros were like bystanders, those who watched, who's, oh wow, this is really cool, And he said, and those who were praxos, those who were practicing ones, So, and he said, and theoros were like a spectators in how do you say it? Spectators during some kind of movie.
There's sports fans. There's
so
the arena.
They're
There are
cheering.
people fighting in the arena, and the spectators are watching and cheering.
Yes.
Or booing.
So the same thing he said in our spiritual life, lots of us, find the reasons, find a very fine reason to like the Lent, It could be for abstinence, could be for talking about something good, could be going to church and feeling good once in a while, when you put $10 on the tot sound, something like that, he says. But we still belong to the category of theoros, unless you really embrace the spirit. Taras is not contagious, Don't worry.
You can't catch
connection is not contagious.
Too much chestnut.
Yeah. So, but what was interesting is that he said that quite often in our life, even in nowadays, lots of us are theoros, right? We like to talk about Lent. Once in a while we do undertake some stuff, it says. And the biggest challenge that we have in our lives is that we truly do not, how do you say it? He said something really nice. That he said, we truly do not give our life to God, we are becoming theoros, and he says, and that's the struggle. That's why we come to confession, but that's why we come for communion, because we realize that в наших немочах we are staying at the level of theoros and really rarely moving towards the praxis. Таке воно. So, оці, чи ви чули про філософію Заратустра?
Так, трошки.
Uh-huh. He had written also a lot about asceticism, you know.
There are people who follow the religion of Zoroastrianism,
Okay.
primarily in Iran, Persians. Not very many of them, but yeah, Zoroastrians.
Okay.
Да.
So again, you know, they had a very rigid practice of asceticism as well, you know. So.
Mhm. And of course, Nietzsche wrote a book called "Thus Spake Zarathustra."
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Nietzsche. Yeah, in German, "Also sprach Zarathustra."
Oh, okay.
"Thus spake Zarathustra" by Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah. Going back to our viewers, you know, Pauline said
Отче,
that
я
there's a.
перепрошую. Отче Тарас, я хочу записати ваш телефон, поки ви є. Який ваш мобільний телефон?
306.
Отче, не через інтернет.
Не через інтернет.
Окей.
Отець,
Я
ви йому
вешлю вам на
пошліть то.
email. Я вешлю вам на email.
Окей, дякую.
That's it.
You're right.
Sorry. Pauline said there is a Lenten cookbook compiled by UAC.
Don't say UAC.
Ukrainian
Ladies
Association of
that is
Canada.
very helpful to plan healthy food. Yeah, I don't have it. My wife does, you know, and we do make some recipes from that cookbook as well. But do you find, fathers? I don't know, like last year I did not really kept Lent that as strict as I did the year before. But year before, after I finished fasting, you know, and then we had Pascha, and I found that on Pascha, like, you know, it's really hard to get back to meat. Like, you know, if you abstain from all of this, it's really
Personally,
unnatural.
I do not like meat. To me, it is no hardship to abstain from meat because I don't like eating meat.
Я вже не пам'ятаю, коли я то м'ясо вже їв. Я не їм м'ясо. Very rarely. You know, if I eat, це курочка. Але я не пам'ятаю, коли я їв свиню, чи взагалі I don't remember, like, well, хіба на Пасху трошечки завжди це. А так, you know, I don't really.
Well, I remember. I really like meat. You know, I will not lie to you if I'll say I don't like meat. I like meat. You know, I'm carnivore, but.
I'm also now being challenged within myself. I hear of my conscience is telling me, yeah, but you do like sometimes bacon and eggs, and you do sometimes like hot dogs. That is true.
And you know what? It's very interesting that.
So again, when I say I don't like eating meat, it's not entirely true.
You know, it's quite often those impulsive purchases. You know. And that's like, oh, we're staying at Costco and they have that $1.55, you know, for Diet Pepsi and the Smoky, you know, and by the time you stay in the line up for like a couple of minutes, you look at that kiosk that sells those Smokies and you say, oh, I just want one of those.
What is a Smoky?
Smoky, it's
big
go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. What is it?
10-inch piece of kubasa. 10-inch piece of kubasa. It's like 3 times the size of a wiener.
And it's called a Smoky.
Yes.
See, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
It's either made out of all beef or made out of pork.
Yeah. And Costco, like I said, you know, Costco is probably, well, because my son is right now back in Ottawa, and we have 4 of us living in the house, so we go once every 2-3 weeks to Costco, you know, and Costco is like you go there and there's like a big lot, and the best thing to purchase there is a smoky and a drink for $1.55 or $1.50 or something. That's it's quite quite a good bargain.
That is a bargain.
Yes, yes. So таке воно.
Поки отці.
Прошу.
Нічого, я кажу. Нічого.
So again, I just wanted to finish our conversation about fasting. This final quote from Dr. Kalatiris. He says, true fasting requires not only fasting from foods, but also practical works of compassion, which in this case include working towards overcoming injustice and extending hospitality, especially to those in need. In simple terms, the hymns of the Holy Week, of the first week of Lent, underscore that there cannot be genuine fasting without love towards the other, especially those in most need. In the end, fasting is the means to remind us not only of our dependence upon God, but also the often forgotten truth that God is beheld in the face of the other. Хочеш побачити Бога, подивись на свого сусіда. Yeah, so without this struggle to fix our eyes on God through beholding God in our neighbor and all his creation, mere fasting from food has no value. On the other hand, when truly practiced, fasting becomes a positive action, nothing less than a true theophany opening us up to the beauty and splendor of the risen Lord. And that's where I wanted to finish.
I would maybe recount just another anecdote. One day I was blessing a home for one of my parishioners, and as I was going into the home, I met a neighbor, and the neighbor was a communist, atheist, and he said to me, he says, have you ever seen God? And I was inspired. I said to him, I see him right now. He says, where? I said, I'm looking at you. He says, you're the image of God. I see God in you. He was quite surprised, quite taken aback at that. I think it was a good message.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I have an acquaintance, or a friend even, who is a really nice guy, but he always challenges me. He says, like, how come you said you believe in God? How does God allow such injustices and wars and pain and cancer? Your mother just died, he says to me. Like, why did God allow? What did your mom do to deserve this? And it's a very, how do you say, very involved, very difficult questions, to answer. And I said, well, because God allows us to have a free will, right? Otherwise, if God takes it away from us, our free will, and the consequences of it, then we stop becoming images of God. We just become other part of His creation, rocks, or perhaps animals, robots, but not truly free human beings. So.
Just before we leave, I want to say one thing that my children have taught me as they were growing up, that it's one thing for us to show the world that we're fasting, but it's another difficult path, difficult sometimes to focus on what a real fast is all about. And like Otets Doctor said, and like Otets Volodymyr said, that if we are going to truly focus on becoming better and growing closer and making an effort, it really doesn't matter what we eat, whether we eat shrimp, lobster, elk steaks, bison burgers. Unless we're going to inside spiritually make those first steps to growing closer to God, the fast doesn't matter if we're not going to observe something.
То правда, Тарас? Отче Тарасе, правда каже, що Не те, що забруднює нас, не те, що заходить в нас, а
Yeah.
те, що виходить з рота.
Yeah.
То робить unclean. Not то, що we eat, but what's come from the mouth.
What comes out of us, that's the thing that makes us unclean. Yes.
And this is difficult sometimes as a priest to deal with his flock, because there are so many things in today's day and age in the society that we're living that it's going 1,000 times faster than what it was, 40, 50, 60 years ago. The challenges that we face nowadays, I don't know about you, but there's days that I feel like, oh my goodness, what is happening? How am I going to deal with this stress today? And it's just a challenge to hold, like what as Ihor said last year, he had a difficult time. Maybe this year will be different. Maybe it'll be better, the focus. We cannot control what is thrown our way from our faithful.
You're right, you're right.
Отже, отці, будемо закінчувати сьогодні. Because it's been already an hour and 5 minutes. So
14 minutes, 9:14.
yes.
So now we'll end with the prayer to the Holy Spirit, right?
Yes.
Perhaps
Отже,
Father Valdemar, you'll say the prayer to the Holy Spirit.
Ну, я вже казав, але хто з ваших отців, я ж не можу це, I have to share, so, Отче Ігоре з Отави, you're the one who,
Vatican.
добре. Не треба мене 2 рази просити. Мене до молитви і до ложки 2 рази просити не треба.
Чудово.
Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа, амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа, амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа, амінь. Царю Небесний, втішителі душі істини, що всюди єси і все наповняєш, скарби добра і життя подателю, прийди і вселися в нас, і очисти нас від усякої скверни, спаси благі душі наші. Слава Отцю і Сину Святому Духу, нині повсякчас, на віки віків, амінь. Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй. Отче Ігоре, благослови.
May the grace of our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ be with all of us now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа, амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого Духа, амінь. Ім'я Отця і Сина Святого